Hello everyone, my name is Seraphi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Sky Strikers. I held off on making this deck guide video for a while, even though I already released my replay video, because I was kind of trying to get more Sky Striker cards. Well, as it turns out, the Ark Rebellion box is really good. I'm out of characters to level up, so I didn't really get too many more gems. I am going to go through the Sky Striker box 3 times at some point, but not quite yet. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys about the deck and how it works, how it functions. And the problem is I've kind of already done this with my Sky Striker prediction video, but we'll go through it. The skill is called Sky Striker Mobilize Contact, and what it does, if you don't control Engage, then at the start of the duel, add 2 Engage to your deck, and one of each of the 4 kinds of Sky Striker Ace Link monsters not already in your extra deck. And during this duel, you cannot normal or special summon any monsters except Sky Striker monsters. And we get Kagari, Shizuku, Hayate, and Kaina. My extra deck is not complete. I only have 1 copy of Shizuku, so it does not make sense to run 1 copy of Shizuku because the skill gives you 1 copy. Once I have 3 Shizuku, I'll probably run all 3. For the main deck, we have Sky Striker Ace Ray. Level 4 Dark Warrior. As a quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. While this card is in your graveyard, if a face-up Sky Striker Ace Link monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, Ray is a slippery card. She jumps into battle. If you try to remove her, she can link herself off. Because she tributes herself, it's very difficult to negate her effect. You have to use a card like Crystal Wing Sacred Dragon, which can negate a monster effect that was activated anywhere, as opposed to a card like Effect Veiler. Because if you try an Effect Veiler, Ray, she'll just link herself off in response. And then if you manage to remove one of the Link monsters through any way, because it just leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, then Ray will still summon herself. So, difficult card to deal with, but not impossible. It's important to note that Ray can only use her effect if your extra monster zone is empty. So if you have another Link monster in your extra monster zone and your opponent tries to remove the Ray that's in your main monster zone, you can't use her effect. You don't have a space in your extra monster zone to summon to. The Limit 2 card, Sky Striker Mecha Widow Anchor. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target 1 face-up effect monster on the field, negate that face-up effect monster's effects until the end of the turn, and if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, take control of that monster to the end phase. That is a May effect, so you can leave the monster on your opponent's side of the field if you want to continue to be able to use your Sky Striker spells, but the negate happens regardless as long as you have no cards in your main monster zone. This is a pretty good card. It's why we don't need to run Effect Veiler, and you should definitely play this too. It's great. Terraforming. Playing Terraforming and 3 copies of Area 0 to make sure that we can access Ray, because Area 0 searches Ray. Just draw Area 0. It's fine. It also puts a spell in the graveyard. Mind Control. Target 1 monster your opponent controls until the end phase. Take control of that target, but it cannot attack or be tributed. Now, Mind Control is a double-edged sword. If you use Mind Control, you now have a monster in your main monster zone, which means that you cannot play any of your Sky Striker normal spells, but it's a great card to just send to the graveyard with your Sky Striker Airspace Area 0, or your Sky Striker Mecha Modules multi-roll. So, you need cards to throw out. Mind Control lets you remove a monster from the field without destroying it, as long as you can target it. It doesn't work on everything, but it is a very good card for going second, and it is one of the easiest ways that you can potentially remove your opponent's threats on the field. You can also link the monster off. If you have Ray already, you could just summon Ray and then use whichever Sky Striker you want, like Kagari, then go into a Link 2 like Nightmare Cerberus. You can play multiple Mind Controls in a turn, so you can take control 2 of your opponent's monsters, go into a Link 3. So it's a pretty good option. Sky Striker Mecha Modules multi-roll. Continuous spell. Once per turn, you can target one other card you control. Send the card to the graveyard. Also, your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to your spell card activations for the rest of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. Huge, huge benefit. Basically, it makes all your cards spell speed 4 for the rest of the turn, and your cards are extremely impactful, so having them all be spell speed 4 is crazy. Once per turn during the end phase, you can set Sky Striker spells with different names from your graveyard up to the number of Sky Striker spell cards you activated this turn when this card was faced upon the field, but banish them when they leave the field. Okay. So it's important to note that multi-roll only counts cards that were activated after multi-roll was played. Therefore, if you have multi-roll in your opening hand, you should activate multi-roll immediately. If you need multi-roll and you have Engage, you should play Engage, then multi-roll, then start playing everything else. Because you want to set your cards, you want to recycle your cards. Multi-roll is probably the best card in the deck since Engage is not technically in the deck. So you want this card. I would play it at 3. I only have 2 copies right now. Or no, wait, I do have 3. Oh, I should put another one in there. I'm going to do that. Yeah, play it at 3. Okay. Sky Striker Maneuver, Jamming Waves. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target one set spell or trap on the field and destroy it. Then if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can destroy 1 monster on the field without targeting. Fantastic card. So it allows you to get rid of your opponent's back row and then also remove their threat if you have the Sky Striker synergy all set up. It's debatable about whether this is a 1 or a 2 of. I personally run it at 1 right now, but I'm not sure if I would keep it that way. You do have other spell and trap removal in the deck, but it's nice to start with, so yeah. The exact ratio is something that I'm still messing around with. Area 0, this is a definite 3 of. You can target one other card you control, excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. If you do, you can add 1 excavated Sky Striker card to your hand, also shuffle the rest in the deck, and then if you excavate a Sky Striker card, send the targeted card to the graveyard. So, this is how you will get rid of cards that you take with Widow Anchor or Mind Control. It's important to note that if you brick and you reveal, like, say, Mind Control, Terraforming, like exactly, like that's basically the only Sky Striker cards you have in your deck that you can't hit, then you will whiff and you won't send the card to the graveyard, which can be very frustrating. You'll have to link it off or something to get rid of it. But otherwise, it's really good. It sends a card that you can't activate to the graveyard. So for example, if you're going first and you need to put your Shark Cannon in the graveyard so that you can power your other spells, it just throws it in the graveyard and you get a benefit. So yeah, this is a great way to get spells in your graveyard and I highly recommend it. If this card in the field zone is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace monster from your deck. So you can pop this card with Afterburners, or you can pop this card with your multi-roll, and then you just get Ray out. So Terraforming draws Area 0. Area 0 can draw Ray, or it can special summon Ray, and then of course if you draw Engage, you also get to get Ray. So there are a lot of great ways to get Ray in this deck. Sky Striker Maneuver Afterburners. This is Kagari in the art, by the way, if you couldn't tell. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target 1 face-up monster on the field, destroy it. Then if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can destroy 1 spell or trap on the field. Fantastic. This just gets rid of one of your opponent's threats and also can potentially remove back row. That's a great card. Run it too. Shark Cannon. Quick play spell. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, or if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can special summon it instead, but it cannot attack forever. Great. So that's a really good card. It's the reason why we don't need to run DD Crow. And you can either banish or take. If you take, then of course you can't activate any spells until you link it off or remove it somehow. But its effect is not negated, unlike the card that you take with Widow Anchor. So you would want to potentially take a card that you could use the benefit of, maybe a card like Dingirsu. Like if your opponent has a Dingirsu in their graveyard, special summon Dingirsu, then you can send a card from their field to the graveyard. That's a good option. Eagle Booster, target 1 monster on the field. That target is unaffected by card effects except its own. And if you have 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, it cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. So this is another quick play spell. So if you draw this card off of Shizuku, you can target Shizuku with it and then set it with your multi-roll. So it's important to note what options you have to set cards from the graveyard that you draw with Shizuku in this particular format. Alright, for the extra deck we have Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. If you take control of 2 Blue Eyes by mind controlling 1 and a Shark anchoring the other, then you can just send them both to the graveyard to summon your own Blue Eyes Twin Burst. It's pretty nice. Borreload Dragon requires 3 effect monsters. Neither player can target this card with monster effects. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. It loses 500 attack and defense points, and your opponent cannot respond to that. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can place that opponent's monster in a zone this card points to and take control of it, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase of the next turn. So this is a great card. It allows you to get around a lot of threats. It can't be targeted, which is really nice. It's difficult to make a link for in this deck, but it's not impossible. You definitely want to use cards like Shark Cannon as much as possible. You can use Mind Control, you can use Widow Anchor, and just take all your opponent's monsters and link them into a big, bad, powerful monster. It's pretty cool. Amphibious Swarm Ship Ambler Whale, also a link 4, requires only 2 effect monsters. It gains 200 attack for each link monster in the graveyards, so since you make so many link 1s, this is going to have a lot of attack points. You can only use each effect once per turn. If this card is destroyed, you can target 1 link 3 or lower monster in either graveyard and special summon it. Cool, that will get you back Kagari, and Kagari's effect will trigger. If a link 3 or lower monster is on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard to destroy 1 card on the field. Another great effect. So Ambler Whale is going to have a lot of attack points. It can revive Kagari or Shizuku or Kaina, all of whom have an effect that triggers when they are special summoned and not when they're link summoned. Then you can just banish it to pop a card if your monster gets destroyed. So this is a great extender, a great long game card for Sky Strikers, and Sky Strikers play the long game, so that works out well for them. Unicorn, Phoenix, and Cerberus, not going to go over these, they're obvious. Ningirsu, this requires 2 Link monsters, so you have to make this with like Shizuku and a Link 2 or something like that. If this card is Link summoned, then you do nothing. Once returned, you can send 1 card from either player's field to the graveyards. This doesn't target, this is a great removal, and you like to send cards to the graveyard, so you could probably use this on your field spell or something. And then lastly, Rastalager, which is just 4,000 attack points. If your opponent has no cards, then you can just kill them. Alright, let's take a look at the replay. Okay, so we are going first against Dark Magician. Our opening hand, we have no Ray, that's okay. We activate our field spell first, and then we're going to set our Afterburners and send it to the graveyard to draw a card. And we get multi-roll, perfect. Activate multi-roll first and use this effect. Not yet, we're going to activate the field spell first. So we activate the field spell to put another copy of the field spell in our graveyard. Multi-roll, send the field spell to the graveyard. Area 0, special summon Ray from the deck. Ray links off into Shizuku. Then we set our Widow Anchor, and then we will use Shizuku's effect during the end phase to draw Widow Anchor. Now we activate Widow Anchor, we target Shizuku, send the Widow Anchor to the graveyard, and then we can set it with multi-roll. And we can also set our... No, never mind. Okay. It's our opponent's turn. They are going to discard the Magician's Navigation, which is very bad for us. It could potentially negate a spell card, to special summon a Princess Illusion Magician. Okay. Illusion Magician effect to draw Dark Magician. We will go ahead and Widow Anchor that. We are going to use the Widow Anchor on the left, which does not get banished when it leaves the field. Now we cannot use the other Widow Anchor because we have a monster in our main monster zone. The opponent had Dark Magician anyway, so it didn't matter. They normal summon Dark Magician. Toss the Kamion Wizard and then set 2 cards. They use their skill to draw Successor Soul, so we know Successor Soul is in the graveyard. We activate Sky Striker Ace Ray's effect after they destroy Shizuku. Special summon Ray, link off into Kagari. Kagari, return the Afterburners to our hand. Now it's the end phase. We get to set our Area 0 from our graveyard. And we pass, and a Princess Illusion Magician goes back to our opponent. It's our turn. We draw. We're going to activate Mecha Modules Multi-Roll first and send our field spell Banish It, so that we can make it so that our opponent cannot activate any cards or effects in response to the spell cards activations for the rest of the turn. Our opponent does not read this. They could easily stop us by using the Magician Navigation effect to negate multi-roll, and they don't. They're probably hoping that they can use Magician Navigation on one of our other spell cards. But now that I use Widow multi-roll, they can't. So I activate Jamming Waves. I'm going to destroy this card, and since I have no, I only have 2 spell cards in the graveyard, it doesn't destroy anything else, but that's okay. Now I Afterburners, I destroy Dark Magician, that lets me destroy his other back row, which is Eternal Soul. Again, my opponent can't activate anything in response to any of my spell cards, so as soon as the spell resolves, I get priority again. Now I activate Widow Anchor, and I'm going to take his monster. And at this point, I messed up. So I was being very careful. I planned out everything. I was like, okay, this is exactly 4,000 life points, but I forgot that I had set the second Widow Anchor off of Shizuku, so it got banished when it left the field instead of going to the graveyard, which meant Kagari did not get its last 100 attack points. So we attack directly, and my opponent goes down to 100 life points. Now, I can activate multi-roll's effect during the end phase. I'm going to set Widow Anchor, and Afterburners, and the field spell. Kagari's attack points go down to 1,600, which is kind of bad, but it's alright. Our opponent's going to activate Illusion Magic, tribute to the Apprentice Illusion Magician to draw 2 Dark Magicians. Okay. Normal summon Dark Magician and then use the skill to draw the Secrets of Dark Magic. That's not a problem. We only have 1 card in his hand that's not known. He attacks and he reveals his last card, which is another Apprentice Illusion Magician. So his Dark Magician goes up to 4,500 attack points. We take 2,900, we are down to 500. It's pretty bad. Not impossible. Now we use Ray's effect. We bring Ray back to the field. Our opponent is going to activate Secrets of Dark Magic now. They're going to fusion summon into the Dark Magicians. Now it is very clear what my opponent is trying to do here. This is not going to win the game, but my opponent is hoping that I will activate a spell card so that he can use Dark Magician's effect to draw a card and set it and immediately activate it. He's hoping that that will save him. But that's okay. We do not need to activate another spell card for the rest of this entire game. So our opponent is going to attack. We activate Ray's effect to link it to Kaina. Kaina's effect target a monster. It cannot attack this turn. So he passes. Now we link Kaina off into Hayate, and Hayate just attacks directly. No more spell cards activated, no chance for the Dark Magician's effect to resolve. There you go, chat. That's the power of Sky Strikers. Control the board to be very precise and very careful about all of your spell activations. Use multi-roll to make all your cards spell speed 4, and you will win the game. My name is Seraphi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.